Hello, everyone. Did that already shock you?
It was just louder than I was expecting. I was expecting hello, everyone, and...
No, I deliver everything like this. I hope you understand that. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Moment of Clarity live stream. We come to you soon after the announcement of President, and I hope for all of you that the racist, corporate,
sexist,
war criminal, sexual predator of your choice won the election.
Mazel tov.
I say that for you. So let me tell you what you won't get real quick on this hour, which we hope you'll hang out with us. We hope you'll share this with people. What you won't get is you won't get us celebrating either of these corporatist, warmonger, sexual predators. So if you're celebrating Biden's win, then you won't get that from us.
This is not the place for you.
Not the place for you. You also won't get us pushing some sort of, OAN network or some of the people on Fox News horseshit about how Trump actually won. They didn't count the right votes. They didn't count the ones he liked the most. You're not going to get that from us either. So if you are one of those two things, so basically if you are Fox News or CNN, you are not going to be happy here because we bring you something else. And
you already have those channels.
You already have those options are wide open to you. So if you're somewhere else, if you believe this is a shit show and will continue to be a shit show, then this is the place for you. However, if you enjoy some Schadenfreude watching this pathetic wannabe fascist oligarch Donald Trump lose simply because he's a bully and a racist and an awful human being, and so it's fun to watch him get his face kicked in, then I'll bring you some of that because I think it's funny. So we're going to get to some of that in a moment, but I wanted to say real quick, and we'll explain this more later, all the donations from today's show, we always donate them all the proceeds go to a cause. Last week was last week Food and Water Watch?
No, last week was Mutual Aid Disaster Relief.
Mutual Aid Disaster Relief. I believe it was over $550 donated to food and not Food and Water, Mutual Aid.
You were really into Food and Water Watch.
Well, that was the week before.
I mean, Food and Water Watch is really awesome. So yes, good. But that was two weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
That was the week before, yes.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So thank you all for being here and for continuing to donate. And was I supposed to say who we're donating to?
Yeah, so we're going to tell you real quick who it is, but then we're going to explain it more later. So
right. So today we are donating to Indigenous Action. And I guess I'm going to tell you later what that is, folks.
It's an Indigenous mutual aid, but we'll get into details later.
And not just mutual aid, but like direct action and communication support, all kinds of radical shit. And I mean that in all senses of that word. So Indigenous Action is a really, really rad organization that works directly with Indigenous communities. So that's who we're donating to today. I will tell you more about that in a bit when more folks come. But for now, if you're on youtube.com/Moment of Clarity, if you're on Facebook and you want to donate, hop on over to youtube.com/Moment of Clarity. And where you put in your name or your comment, you can also hit the $sign and donate to Indigenous Action.
But I thought we'd start off before we get into explaining who they are, but also other topics. I thought I'd start off with a fun one. If people need a good laugh right now.
This was the silver lining for me for yesterday. I swear to God, yesterday was a shit day.
This
was like some beautiful silver lining that you couldn't even fucking make this up. Holy shit. Thank you so much.
$50. Wow.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Yeb HX.
To Indigenous Action. And here is this like beautiful comedic moment that, yeah.
Oh yeah. So this made yesterday all totally worthwhile for me. So we live in DC now. It's where I tape my show Redacted Tonight. And it, as many cities, especially on the coast, have been just all day honking horns, people celebrating, people in the streets jumping up and down, very excited. And about Joe Biden's win. And so it's kind of sad, not because I'm a Trump fan, but just because it's sad for America that these are the two choices. So
and we can get into this more later, but the issue that I had is that, like, I'm totally cool if people are like, oh, good, Trump's out of office. And then their response would be, oh, okay, Biden, whatever. But the fact that you're cheering and honking and celebrating this racist, sexist, war criminal, piece of shit, neoliberal fucking, that made me so angry and so sad.
Not a fan?
Yeah.
Okay. Not a fan. But anyway, the story that made me so happy yesterday, some of you probably already heard it. It did get some major play, but not a lot, was that Trump held they tried to hold a press conference in Philadelphia where Giuliani, Trump wasn't there, but where Giuliani and his goons could come forward and say, oh, it's all a fraud, it's all fake, it's not an election, biggity blue. And Trump announced it would be at the Four Seasons Hotel in Philadelphia. He then corrects himself and says, never mind, Four Seasons Total Landscaping. Literally, they booked the wrong Four Seasons, a landscaping company that was closed. I think if it had been open, it would have been fun. No, I'm kidding. But it was closed. And so it's like the parking lot of a landscaping company outside of Philadelphia, where they went ahead with it because it was too late. They didn't have time to pick a new location. So literally it's Giuliani in the parking lot of a small landscaping company ranting and raving about election fraud. And tell what was next door.
Next door to a sex shop and a crematorium. So you can get fucked and die and get some landscaping done all in one, like a one-stop shop.
Literally,
all in the same block.
Literally, Trump's pathetic fucking tenure as president is ending in the parking lot of a landscaping company next to a dildo shop with an a disgraced mayor of New York who recently tried to pull out his winky on the latest Borat edition.
Which I don't even know about.
Yelling about election fraud. But he's not even, look, we do have fraudulent elections, but not in the way he's talking about. It's mainly people of color being purged from the voter rolls. But for them, it's because, Trump didn't like that people mailed in their ballots. Anyway, totally amazing to have this be the end. And you have some tweets, right?
Okay, with this one, you actually read this one to me. This is so beautifully put.
Hold on, before you read that. I am not kidding. I had to read this fucking 12 times to realize that it was true. This is true. Donald Trump first tweeted Four Seasons Hotel, then corrected himself and said, no, Four Seasons Total Landscaping. And this all happened. This is real. We're not kidding. They did it at a fucking landscaping parking lot. You can look up photos. It's amazing.
And it's so worth it to look up pictures of this because seriously,
and
like
tweets.
whatever you're feeling right now, this is just going to make you feel better. It is such a wonderful. The site is it's worth the price of admission. So this guy, Chuck Wendig, tweeted this yesterday. He said, the Four Seasons landscaping story is the perfect capper to all of this. Like a balloon squeak farting out its air as it does an erratic orbit around the room before finally falling to the floor, limp and airless. That was one of my favorite tweets that really encompasses the feeling that I had about this. And sometimes the internets are a beautiful place. Yesterday, Twitter was running amok with all of this commentary. Like it started on a golden elevator because I guess somehow the Trump campaign started on a golden elevator.
The first ever Trump campaign event was in the Trump Hotel in New York. He came down the golden elevator, which apparently the Simpsons had predicted years earlier. But and at that time, now he does have millions of fans. But at that time, they paid actors to stand out front and cheer for him.
They paid people recently. I think there was like some sort of press conference in the Rose Garden, and they paid those people too to be there. Anyway, all that aside, people were commenting on like, oh, it started on a golden escalator and ended in the fucking landscaping parking lot. And I mean, there are already articles out there that I haven't read all of them, but I want an interview with the person who answered the phone.
It was like, yeah, we have Four Seasons. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, of course we can set up a podium.
$1,000 for the parking lot, certainly.
Thank you so much, Raymond. So appreciate it.
So appreciated, Raymond. So we've only had 2 donations.
Thank you for making us feel like we're not alone
so far, but they've been wonderful, and all of the proceeds are going to Indigenous Mutual Aid that we're
Indigenous Action.
Indigenous Action that we're going to tell you more about in a moment. We're going to get into some of the reasons you shouldn't be celebrating Biden.
Here's one.
No, they're old friends. Yeah, Biden is, and honestly, this gets to the heart of the matter. This is why Biden is better for the oligarchy. Even Republican members of the oligarchy is because Biden will work together and get them all to work together to create the things that the business community, the big club that George Carlin talked about that you're not in.
You're not in. We're not in.
It makes it much easier for them to run things. And, if Trump weren't also a racist fuck fascist, then there are some good aspects. If you could take certain aspects of Trump and put them in somebody who wasn't a racist fuck and a fucking rapist, then you could actually achieve some interesting things, like gunking up the works of the exploitation and extraction of the oligarchy, of the entire wealth and resources of humanity in this country and really around the world. So those aspects of Trump are positive, but unfortunately, he also comes with a great amount of white supremacy and so much more. But anyway, do you want to explain about who we're donating to, all the proceeds this week?
So, folks,
please share this, by the way.
Yes, like and share. And if you're watching this on Facebook, please head over to youtube.com/momentofclarity and you can donate there in the same spot where you type in a comment. So today we are donating to Indigenous Action, which is, I've had this up on my page, but apparently it's gone now. Come back to me.
Come back to you. Okay, I'm just filling time here.
Because I was looking for the squeak fart, and then
I see that 600 of you are watching on Facebook, and I think a few hundred more on YouTube. Let's get that number up there, folks. Please share this. And I don't know why I'm doing this in my disingenuous voice right now, but I mean it. Okay, go ahead.
You're doing it in like the win this one for me, kid, that kind of voice. So Indigenous Action, you can check them out over at indigenousaction.org.
Thank you, Vienna.
Especially if you're watching this after the fact. Thank you, Vienna, so much. So Indigenous Action is an organization that provides.
Thank you, Jay Blood.
Thank you, Jay Blood. That provides strategic communications and direct action support for Indigenous communities' sacred lands defense. A radical volunteer crew of anti-colonial and anti-capitalist Indigenous media makers, designers, artists, writers, and agitators that work together on a project-by-project basis for the liberation of Mother Earth and all her beings. Over the years, we've organized hundreds of actions, marches, banner drops, workshops, conferences, benefits, and much more, including mutual aid during COVID. So definitely donate what you can. All of the money that we're raising today goes to Indigenous Action, and you can check them out at indigenousaction.org.
And thank you guys so much. Thank you, all those of you who have already donated. I mentioned that last week we raised around $550. I think it was like $532 or something for
mutual aid disaster
relief. Which, here's the thing, I can never remember because we give to a new cause each week, and they build up in my mind, and I can't always remember. But thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, I'm never going to run for office. That's just not my thing. You
don't want to slowly be corrupted and feel your soul slowly melt away as the system is slowly and gradually tears you down until you're a shell of your former self and you recall your dreams, but only vaguely.
I mean, that sounds fun. But no, it's more that I don't actually think that that's how you facilitate change. So I don't think it'd be a good use of my time. I also don't want like fucking a bunch of fascists and neolibs digging up my past and being like, well, you snorted cocaine in fucking 2009. It's like, okay, well, yeah, and the Sacklers have killed hundreds of thousands of people and we're okay with that. But, that's a different tangent.
I have a Sackler poster in my room. Big Sackler fan here. By the way, something I just covered on Redacted Tonight, which I think we might have talked about last week, was, or maybe on the podcast. We have a podcast called Common Censored. Was that the Sacklers have been forced to, they've been kicked out of their company, Purdue Pharma, for causing the opioid epidemic. They've also, Purdue Pharma owes $8 billion, or over $8 billion to the victims. Unfortunately, most victims won't be getting that money because they've already declared bankruptcy. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Carol.
Do you have a response to Nick?
Well, now I have to sit here and read it. You could have just told me.
Well, I don't have an answer. That's why I was wondering if you did.
Will both turn up Dem? I don't know what that means.
Will they become? Will they?
Well, the Dems will win.
Yeah, I'm assuming. We can come back to that.
Will the Dems wait for a recount to pass the next stimulus bill? I don't have an answer to that. I will say that I imagine the next stimulus bill, although I understand it'll help people in some regard, will probably be very similar to the first, which is trillions of dollars to Wall Street and a $1,200 check, if you're lucky, to most Americans. And I understand the $1,200 for a lot of people, that could be a month. It could be 2 months even of rent. And that is a good thing. However, it tells you a lot about our system as they give trillions to Wall Street. The last one gave $4.25 trillion to Wall Street.
You, John.
The small business loans went largely, thank you, John, went largely to larger businesses or to the tops of mid-sized businesses. You know, they largely didn't go to the workers. So, yeah, that's how it works. So it's not that those don't, you know, it does help people to a degree, but it's not what they could be doing for people.
And yes, John, to your point, we are on our own together. There's a quote that I shared in the last episode of the Deception 2020 series that I did, which you can check out over at artkillingapathy.com. Lee's on it. But on the last episode where I spoke with Jackie Lookman, I talked about the solidarity of the shaken, which is a quote and a concept that Patoka put forward. And it's this idea that when we understand that we have no system that is built for us, then that's terrifying. It's this terrifying moment of holy shit, like this nihilist abyss that we just step into, like who has our back? And we realize soon that the people that have our back are each other. And that we stand on this shaky ground, unsure of, you know, what our foundation is as a system, as a people, but we have each other. And that can sound trite, which is why I like Solidarity of the Shaken, because it just sounds a bit more badass and poetic. But it's true. And so we are on our own, but we are together on our own. So yeah, it is definitely medicine to hang out with people that are on the same page and aren't fooled by a Biden victory. So thank you again for all of the donations, y'all. Please keep them coming. We are donating to Indigenous Action. So if you're on Facebook and you want to donate, head over to youtube.com/Moment of Clarity, and you can donate there. All the proceeds of this live stream are going to Indigenous Action.
So I saw someone ask, will there be a recount? I've spent many years studying election fraud, studying how these elections are rigged, studying the legit journalism, not the CNN crap, not the MSNBC crap, but the legit journalism as to what goes on in our elections. And here's the thing. Thank you, Underhill. Here's the thing. For those of you wondering whether there's be a recount, and some of you might be wondering because you want Trump, some of you might be wondering because you don't want Trump. If there were a recount, which I'm fine with there being a recount, if there needs to be, if there's within a certain percentage, it certainly makes sense. But there's something you need to understand, that most of the time recounts change very little. They'll change a few hundred votes because they're basically recounting what was already put into the system. The majority of election fraud, the mass election fraud, really comes in what a lot of people call voter suppression. It comes from purging millions of people, and I mean millions across the country, from the voter rolls. Those people do not cast a vote. So there's nothing to recount from them. And those people are largely people of color and some young people. But if you had to say, you know, what is the largest group that are purged, it's people of color. So if there's a recount, it would Trump loss, is going to ultimately lose in the initial count by whatever, 40, 50,000 in Pennsylvania. Maybe it's more than that now. So he'd have to somehow gain over 50,000 votes, which is in a standard recount is not possible. It doesn't. So a recount's not going to change this result. Now, if Trump had won, then the Democrats could rightfully say, well, millions of people weren't allowed to vote. And they would be correct that people of color were not allowed to vote. Now, they would never do that because it is more important to the Democrats, the upper echelon of the Democrats, to basically just allow the system, the machinery of the system to run unfettered, to continue to run without a hiccup. Calling all the election into question greatly diminishes their ability to do that. So if Trump had won this thing, let's say in this initial count, they probably wouldn't even be calling for a recount. Biden would have conceded because, again, the Democrats, they act like Trump is Hitler. But to the ruling elite.
Wow, thank you, Chaos.
Wow, thank you so much, Chaos Agent. To the ruling elite, Trump is not Hitler. They say that to get everyone riled up. But to the ruling elite, Trump is only upsetting because he has accidentally, through his incompetence and his arrogance and his megalomaniacal man-child behavior, revealed the empire for what it is. He has revealed the mass systemic racism. He has revealed the corruption. He has revealed the grabbing all of the remaining wealth of this country and giving it to the elite while fucking over the poor.
Wow, thank you, Natasha.
Thank you,
Jeff.
so much, Natasha
so much,
and
y'all.
Jeff. Incredible donations. We really appreciate it.
Going to Indigenous Action again, y'all.
So anyway, all of that is to say that if there's a recount, it won't change much. And if they added in the provisional votes, all of them, meaning not throwing out a single one, and went to people's homes and said, you showed up at the polling places but weren't allowed to vote because you were purged from the rolls, come vote. If they did that, the Democrats would do better, not the Republicans.
Yeah. Also, congrats, Jeff, and congrats, Australia, for celebrating 10 straight days with no COVID cases. That sounds awesome. I wonder when that will happen here.
I know. Australia has done a much better job of dealing with this. I know that if you fly there, they basically put you in a hotel room and you basically have an armed guard. I don't know if he's armed, but you have
an armed guard.
He might be, but you have a guard.
He nunchucks you if you try to leave.
You have a guard standing outside your hotel room, not allowing you to leave for 14 days. So,
yeah. Well, thank you so much, Krish. Yay. I don't know what a DND campaign is, but
does that mean Dungeons and Dragons, or does he mean Department of Defense?
No, that's DOD. Unless it's Department in Defense.
I was making a joke.
Oh, sorry.
Jesus.
Thank you.
I assume Chris means Dungeons and Dragons, maybe?
I have no idea. Thank you all for the donations. Again, all of this is going to Indigenous Action. And
we have 666 people watching. Just changed.
See, you jinxed it. Thank you so much, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Okay, shall we get into what we would like to see Trump do in his last 2 months?
Lee, why don't you
easy with the pen?
He's
still doing it.
I want a laser pointer.
I have eyeballs.
Not for long.
Jesus.
Oh.
Go ahead. Put in the other hand.
Thank you. Lee, why don't you tell everyone?
That's not the other hand.
Why don't you tell everyone about the Twitter poll that you did?
Oh, so everybody, we'd love for you to give us ideas of things Trump could do in these last couple months that would piss the fuck off or piss the fuck out of neoliberals and neocons.
Yes, let's crowdsource some ideas, folks. What was the one?
So the one I tweeted about two possibilities. One is pardon Julian Assange. That would fucking drive all of them nuts. That would drive the neocons, neoliberals. They'd all fucking lose their shit.
It'd spontaneously combust. It would
incredible.
Be beautiful.
Be beautiful. So that's one. And really, because he hasn't been, he's been indicted. So pardoning him, I guess, would end the indictment. But really, it just has to tell them to leave it, drop it. So then the other thing, though, let me look up the results real quick. You fill the time now. Haha.
The results of the yeah. So I thought the Twitter poll wasn't about Assange, but that's
no, it's not.
That's
Here
definitely something. Oh, Wasn't a lot of
Thanks for filling the
to
time. Let's see. I tweeted out, who thinks Donald Trump, since he has nothing left to lose, should piss off neoliberals and neocons by releasing everything the government...
Thank you, David.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
By releasing everything the government has on the JFK and MLK assassinations. And of the 3,385 votes, we have 98.9% saying release the documents and 1% saying keep the documents hidden.
Yep.
Free Leonard.
Leonard Peltier. Very good.
Yes, good one.
call.
And
Snowden. Yes, and pardon Snowden as well. Good.
And
Solid.
Mumia Abu Jamal.
Yes, these are good ideas, folks. Keep them coming.
I'd love to see. I mean, here's the thing: is like, it'd be because Donald Trump has a belief that the deep state has been working against him, which a lot of them have. Some of them he's put into office, but a lot of them have been working against him. Juliska, the link to donation is the $sign next to the comment box. You have to be logged into YouTube, and you'll see a $sign next to the comment box where you can click to donate. Because a fair amount of the deep state has been working against Donald Trump, because like I said, he's not a good CEO for America Incorporated. I'd like to see him just like disband the CIA and the FBI. And now he'd never do that because he's Mr. Law and Order, right? Which means Mr. I love to fucking give blowjobs to cops.
Well, we're not talking about things he would do. I mean,
I know.
Another couple of things that I'm seeing in the chat here are ending the drug war, Medicare for all, and a UBI.
So it'd be
which
interesting.
is universal income. Sorry.
It's not a UTI.
Not a UTI.
Which I'm sure he has plenty of.
Thank you, Adrian.
I feel like he has a UTI of the face because it's all orange.
It burns when I pee when I see his face. Does that count?
He causes UTIs in others from a distance over TV.
Lene, thank you. Yes, brunch is still canceled. Thank you. If I hear one more person say it, like, Weidemann, I'm going to brunch, I'm gonna punch him right in the face.
I'm gonna punch him right in their avocado toast.
What do you think will happen to Rachel Maddow if Trump were to pardon all of these people? Chris wants to know.
Well, hold on, but he even added some more. And the Black Panthers, bunch of Black Panthers. Rachel Maddow's head would explode live on television.
Which, I mean, I'd be so down to see that. I'd be down. Like a Spinal Tap spontaneous combustion type thing.
Right.
I think that would be beautiful.
Yeah.
The ratings would be amazing. Can you imagine the ratings on that?
By the way, if you want to partake in the poll I did on Twitter, my Twitter is @LeeCamp. But yes, great recommendations, everybody. Please keep them coming on because Trump probably the number one thing he's going to do is wipe his ass on all the 18th century furniture in the White House. So I think
Factory Farms.
That's step one. He's going to take a dump in a Lincoln bedroom, I assume.
That's a funny one.
Oh my God! What if he just signed a peace deal with Kim Jong-un on the last day? Just see ya, peace.
Literally.
It'd be amazing.
That's awesome. I love it. Ban Factory Farms.
Are you kidding? This guy eats McDonald's every single day.
We're not talking about things he would do here. He's also not going to give us fucking universal health care. Come on, use your imagination. We're like in a Disney movie right now, okay? You just use your imagination, you fly and shit. Like, come on.
But that it would be amazing if despite the fact that he disagreed with these things, he knew it would just cause havoc. So he just bans factory farms on the last day.
But unfortunately, then that would hurt him. So he's not going to do that.
Ban fracking, someone said. Pull out of all wars.
Yeah. Someone's complaining that there's no join button. I don't really know what a join button is.
I think that means subscribe, right?
Oh, okay.
There should be a subscribe button.
Is it the bell? No, that's something else.
Well, you hit subscribe, then you have to click the bell icon because
Thank you, Rhonda.
Want to not tell you about our videos. Please share this video. Thank you, everybody who's joining. For those of you just joining, this is the place to hang out if you are not celebratory that one of the two racist, corporatists, Wall Street owned war criminal sexual predators has won the presidency. And instead, you kind of think the system is fucked as a whole and we need to keep fighting, and that this election is a spectacle used largely to divert our anger and our attention. And that doesn't mean you like Donald Trump, because he's a fucking awful, awful human being, sociopath, definitely.
Thank you, Torches and Hold on. Thank you, Torches and Pitchforks. Oh my God, I can't fucking say pitchforks. Torches and pitchforks. Actually, that's just like an awkward torches and pitchforks. Torches and pitchforks. Torches and pitchforks. I got it.
Can you please do that for the rest of the show? Another half hour.
Just like sitting here mumbling quietly to myself. Torches and pitchforks.
Someone would like us to pardon Johnny Depp, which.
Wait, what has he done?
Well, he wasn't actually convicted of anything. He lost his libel case against his ex-wife or ex-girlfriend.
Agree with you, Krish. Legalize all drugs. Which this is another exciting. Thank you, Krish, for mentioning this. Another silver lining from this whole shit show neoliberal fuckfest has been that every single place that had a ballot initiative regarding.
Thank you, old and shaven.
Old unshaven.
Old unshaven one. Okay, got it.
Every place that had a ballot measure for the legalization of, or the decriminalization of drugs, won that initiative. So there's, medicinal marijuana, recreational marijuana.
Thank you, Pirate Ray.
For instance, here in DC, the decriminalization of psilocybin won, which is fucking great. So that the war on drugs is losing in terms of ballot initiatives. So this is really great. Of course, next steps have to do with obviously getting folks out of cages that have been put in cages for plants.
Well, and I'm going to talk more about the drug things that have passed in this next week's Redacted at Night. But yeah, I mean, what it speaks to is if you actually poll Americans, which is what democracy is, right? You're supposed to be able to vote a lot more than we are. We just vote for a representative who's bought the election. We don't actually get to vote on issues usually, most of the time. But if you actually poll Americans and look at what they stand for, they're universally against the war on drugs. They want to decriminalize like all this shit. I mean, South Dakota, which has just passed like legalizing marijuana and some other things, they're considered a right-wing state. So even in right-wing states, they want to decriminalize this stuff. If you look at Medicare for all, whether we should have free health care, yeah, fucking yeah. Everyone wants it. Well, so it's our goddamn government that has been bought out by corporate America.
Yeah, and y'all might recall back in the primaries, the Democratic primaries, which feels like a solid 40 years ago. But in the primaries, Bernie did a town hall with Fox News, and at that town hall, he he goes to the audience and he's like, "Hey, how would y'all feel about universal healthcare?" And everyone's like, "Ah!" And all the Fox people are like, "Oh shit, god damn it, we gotta go to commercial or some shit." And these are Fox viewers. And I noticed this too when I was down in West Virginia, or really in Louisiana and North Carolina. If you go to places that are, stereotypically right wing, if you talk to them like face to face and talk to them about like, hey, do you think you should have to go fucking bankrupt for paying for a medical bill of something that's completely treatable? And they're like, no, absolutely not.
Thank you,
Louise, I think.
So
I think that people in general want shit that says that, oh, you don't have to die because you're too poor to pay for healthcare. This is shit that the majority of people want. It's just that our government, and this includes Biden, this includes the Democratic Party, the Biden has basically said, not at all mincing words, he said, "I am the Democratic Party and I do not support a national improved Medicare for all bill." He's fucking said it. So the Democrats do not stand with the people on really any of these progressive issues. And this is another point. All of the people that campaigned on national improved Medicare for all won. Every single one. And people, these the Democrats' centrist attempts to appease everybody appease no one. And a lot of them lost, because guess what? If you stand for nothing other than the fact that you're not Trump or you're not Republican, that's not a fucking platform. And so the fact that the Democrats stand for nothing means that they obviously don't stand for people, and they obviously are just passively in support of the system which exists for Wall Street and military-industrial complex in the empire. So yeah, it's
yeah, no, it absolutely does. Just, I mean, like the people that were progressive won for the most part. They were purged. Most of them were purged in the primaries, because that's how the DCCC and the DNC make sure that there aren't really progressive candidates in the general, because they tend to win. And that is bad for the Democratic ruling elite, because the Democratic ruling elite are fucking Republicans. And so they tend to purge most of them in the primaries. However, you get to and actually they did it against Mitch McConnell, who then beat the fucking corporatists that he was up against. And so these progressives, Cory Bush, Jamal Bowman or Bauman, I always get it wrong. They both won. Ocasio-Cortez won by like 50% or something, even though they spent millions of dollars to try and beat her. People want they want progressiveness in this country in a lot of ways. They've just been scared into these two clubs. Either you're red or you're blue. Either you're Democrat or you're Republican. No, but they're not fucking like, if you tell people the fucking issues, most people agree on a lot of these.
Yep. Yes, indeed. So once again, folks, thank you for all your donations. All the donations are going to Indigenous Action. So if you're watching on Facebook and you want to donate, go over to youtube.com/momentofclarity. And you can donate there. And again, we are taking suggestions on what you think that Trump should do during the lame duck session to really piss off the neolibs. We've gotten some good shit. Lee did a Twitter poll about releasing the documents about JFK and MLK's assassinations. And you also have some really
because they know some shit, because they be doing some shit.
I want a shirt that says that. You actually had some good interviews with folks that in both of those issues respectively that have done a lot of awesome work on uncovering the truth about what happened to both JFK and MLK.
Oh my God. The author of the JFK book, I think, is called Lisa. I think her name is Lisa Pease, and
I mean, they basically did. He's held together by like duct tape and hope.
And the author of the MLK book called The Plot to Kill King, his name is Dr. Pepper. I'm sorry, it's just his name. It's his name. Okay, it's his name. I'm sorry. But anyway, he was a lawyer who knew Dr. King. In the final year of his life, and has been studying and investigating what went down since King died. And we've talked about him before. But anyway, you should watch that interview, or at least look up Dr. Pepper's book called The Plot to Kill King. Yeah,
rad interview. Really important information that you're not taught in your history books here in the U.S. of A. I wonder why that is.
Okay, so very slightly moving on. I want to watch a vein bulge in your forehead.
No.
So I'm going to say the reason Biden's important is because we can push him to the left.
Why are you so mean to me?
Well, no, but in all seriousness, what is the best response to people who are like, well, now it's time to push Biden to the left?
So I was actually asked this. I did an interview with a Swedish outlet the other day, and they asked me the same question, and I said, well, I'll answer your question with a question. How? And so look at Biden's history. Dude has been doing this a long time. He's run for president. And the only way that he was actually able to win, and somebody, pointed out that he was a rebound president, the only way that he was able to win was being propped up, literally and figuratively, by the way, by the Democratic Party establishment, going up against one of the most unpopular presidents in the world, which, by the way, Donald Trump also got more votes this year than he did in 2016. So just put that in your pipe and smoke it. And thank you, Jay Blood. Yes. And Biden cannot be pushed to the left. Look at his track record. Look at the history of his political career. Dude was the right-wing Democrat before that shit was cool, which is what it is now. I mean, the Democrats are a right-wing party at this point. And if you look at Biden's history, he's always been the right-wing Democrat, and he has been against any progressive policy and idea. He was so for the 94 crime bill that he legit, this is a fucking quote, when folks asked him about, in particular, the capital punishment inside the crime bill, he said, well, we do everything short of hanging people for jaywalking. That's the president.
And
elect.
this is a guy who was besties with Strom Thurmond, a Dixiecrat, which means a Democrat that wanted continued segregation, but really wanted continued slavery.
Like the old school Democrats, you know?
Old school.
Like back during the Civil War Democrats.
Like Strom Thurmond was like a full frontal racist, like on a Donald Trump level. And this is someone Joe Biden considered such a good friend that he gave the eulogy at Strom Thurmond's funeral. That's how close he was with him. He was he continues to be close with some of the most disgusting racist war criminals. And then, of course, there's the war criminal fact, which is, Biden supported the Iraq war wholeheartedly. He was in the Obama administration during the attack on Libya and supported that, obviously. He supported, obviously, all the bombing that went on under Obama, which was around 30,000 bombs a year. That are dropped. I mean, Trump has continued it, so I don't want to act like it ended with Trump. But under Obama, these bombs are dropped on innocent civilians all day, every day. It averages out to every 12 minutes. These bombs are killing someone mainly in the Arab world, some in Africa, and we all turn our heads and act like it's not happening or it doesn't matter because American soldiers aren't getting killed with most of these drone bombs. But it's fucking horrific. I mean, the amount of blood on this guy's hands. Now, I get it. His hands have been around a long time and he's had them replaced or whatever, but still, there's a shitload of shit ton of blood on his fucking hands.
Yeah, and also with regards to Kamala, there's a great article. This is actually from a couple of months ago in Black Agenda Report, which is just a great outlet if y'all aren't familiar with it already. And this article is called "Obama, Harris, and the Ruse of Racial Representation." And of course, this is something that the Democrats really excel at, right? They put Black, Indigenous, people of color in like photo ops, and then they continue to like full on bulldoze these communities, even more so than the Republicans in a lot of ways. Obama, for instance, made life for Black communities worse than it had been under Bush. And Kamala is another example of this. She was the top cop. She put so many Black folks behind bars. She was incredibly buddy with the police. And to think that somebody like Kamala speaks for Black folks or people of color is really fucking dangerous. And it really just speaks to the idea of using Black folks, Indigenous folks, and people of color to promote a neoliberal and incredibly racist agenda, which is what the Democrats do, but they do it with the guise of being for these people. Whereas, as Lee pointed out, the Republicans just fucking do it. And they're like, actually, we just don't fucking care about you. But the Democrats are like, no, we really do care about you. But also here, we're going to bulldoze your communities. We're going to completely marginalize and oppress you even better than last time. And so this is, I definitely
need them
recommend,
to fight the fires.
Right? I definitely recommend that article and just Black Agenda Report in general as an outlet. But it's, the idea that you can push someone like Biden or Harris to the left when their entire careers have been about upholding the system and actually pushing it towards the right.
Thank you, Jay
is
Blood.
Really fucking absurd. And it's really dangerous because it means that the way that you see fighting for justice or fighting for progress is knocking on a door that will never open to you. The doors of the Democrats will never open to the people. They're only open to Wall Street. And the longer we bash our heads against that fucking door, the longer we just get really fucking sick and tired, migraines.
Thank you, progressive lefty.
It is a waste of time and it will never bring the change that we need, not just want, but that we need for a livable future.
Can you remind everybody who all the proceeds go to?
Yes, thank you all for donating all of the proceeds of this
super chat.
Thank you. Of this super chat are going to Indigenous Action, which is a rad organization that does everything from supporting communications and direct action to mutual aid for Indigenous communities. So they are a rad organization. They also have a lot of really, really great articles. The most recent one that I just fucking love is called 16 Ways to Become Ungovernable and Also Fuck Biden. It's a great article. I highly recommend it. You can check it out at indigenousaction.org. It's a brilliant commentary, really from like through an Indigenous lens about just how useless Biden is in terms of any sort of progress. And it's a really, really great article and a great website. So yeah, check that out. And that's where all of these proceeds are going.
Someone mentioned something that is a good point, which I've tweeted about this and talked about a little bit. I want to talk about it more, hopefully, on Redacted tonight. But I have not heard anyone mention this. I started raising the alarm about this about a week ago, but no one seems to be talking about the fact that the moment Biden gets into, which this is another topic we can have you throw ideas about, what Biden will do in his earliest days as president. I imagine in the first month, if not the first week, he will sign back on to the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the largest corporate power grab that's ever been conceived. It was written entirely by lobbyists and corporate lawyers under the Obama administration. Thanks to activism, we successfully made Donald Trump think that his supporters hated it, and so Donald Trump pulled out of it, even though he didn't read it and probably didn't know what it was.
No, that died only because of the activism on the ground.
Yeah. So I'm sure Joe Biden will sign on to it. What ended up happening after Donald Trump pulled out is the other 12 nations still signed it. They altered some things that they didn't like about it that the United States had forced them to put in there, but it's basically the same. And they all signed on to it. So basically, they're just waiting for the United States to sign on. So now I guarantee you, and it has a new name, trade, McFucky trade. And so Joe Biden will, I guarantee you, sign on in the first few weeks. And no one's talked about it. No one's fucking, I've heard just about nothing about it.
Yeah, that's that is a scary thought, and of course it'll be, and this is also the thing in terms of pushing Biden to the left. You have to understand the way things, and obviously a lot of you understand this watching this, but I'm saying people need to understand that the way things are sold to us is never the way that they actually are. Biden's not going to come out there and be like, yeah, so we got this trade deal. It's going to completely fuck over the average worker. I mean, it's like NATO, but on steroids. It's fun. It's more horrific than you could ever imagine. It's not NATO, NAFTA, but also NATO's horrific too. But that's not the trade deal. All these fucking, what do you call them? Acronyms. Thank you. So that's not the way it's going to be sold. It's going to be sold to us in the way that, like, oh, look, we've just had a pandemic. It's really important that we bolster the economy. We need jobs, and this is going to bring jobs. It's going to be so great in jobs. Did I mention jobs? It's going to be great. And of course, it's going to do the fucking opposite. That's what these trade deals do. They completely gut the economy. If you look at the economy.
Leave on.
If you look at the economy as the workers, as opposed to Wall Street, it's going to be great for Wall Street. So we really have to look at the way that these things are going to be talked about, because they can so easily just fucking wash over people, just the way it did with Obama. Like, oh, Obama wants this trade deal. I mean, I trust him. He's cool, right? Yeah, okay. So the way that these things are going to be talked about is a huge issue, and people have to, thank you, AD.
Thank you, AD.
That people have to understand that just because it's a fucking blue MAGA hat doesn't make it a good hat. It's still a MAGA hat.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Bombing AMLO. That's funny.
We were just talking about AMLO with a friend.
Well, we can talk about that in one second. I just wanted to say
thank you, Torches and Pitchforks. I'm digging the repeat donations.
If we get $50 donated in the next 10 minutes, we'll stay an extra 10 minutes. We like to do that every week, and all of these proceeds are being donated. They're not for us. Although, if you'd like to check out our podcast, it's called Common Censored, and we have a Patreon for that as well. But these donations are all will all go. The proceeds will all go to
Indigenous Action. Sorry.
Indigenous Action.
Sorry, I was reading this comment. Viva Bolivia. Yes, absolutely. Can I just say, like, low key, I am like super jealous that they actually had a leftist party that they could vote for. So, and really, really awesome what's been happening in Bolivia. The fact that the MAS party won, and that what's going on?
I'm clicking the wrong one.
That the MAS party won, and that Evo Morales was able to go home. I believe he was able to go home on his birthday. So what a fucking great birthday present.
And the last redacted tonight, I went through all of the CIA-backed coups that have failed over the past couple years. Bolivia, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and the Pinochet Constitution voted out in Chile just a few weeks ago. These are all big moves against our CIA destruction of Latin America.
And Nick, to your point, I think that more people are talking about UBI for sure. I think that there's not going to be a massive stimulus because that's just not how we roll in this country. But I do think that more people have been talking about it, just like more people have been talking. Thank you, Arcola. Just like more people have been talking about the issue of universal health care, because the pandemic has stripped the sheen and the facade off of this capitalist cutthroat system to such an extent that people that, you know, would have considered themselves apolitical or would have considered themselves centrist or whatever, are now saying, well, what the fuck? This is absurd that I'm going to be evicted in the middle of a pandemic, or that I lose my job and I don't get any support from the system when it's no fault of mine that I lost my job. All of these things. So I think this is bringing these conversations and these issues to the front, and that people are discussing them more with regards to that. So I absolutely think that conversation is happening more. I just don't think that you're going to see like a massive, a big stimulus the way that you've seen in other countries where people are actually taken care of, you know, like given 85% of their paycheck while they're staying home and quarantining. That shit's just not going to fly in the US.
But it is incredible how, you know, those of us who are considered the radicals out on the fringes, over to the side, on the edges, not mainstream, other bunny ear things. Those of us who are on the fringes, who bring up these topics like, let's say, UBI, and at first they are laughed at, they are scoffed at, they are ignored, and then all of a sudden you have guess what, a presidential candidate like Andrew Yang talking about it on the fucking debate stage, and then you have more people talking, and then you have test runs in various cities. How about legalizing marijuana as another example? When it was, you know, being brought up. And yes, I realize it's been brought up for decades, so I want to act like it's like started in the 2000s. But there was more action. Thank you, Chaos Agent.
Thank you, Chaos Agent.
There was more action going on in the past, you know, many years, and now you're seeing it across the country. And this starts with those of us who are maligned as you know, radical or you know, extremist or whatever. And then it allows a space for the conversation to be pulled to an area where you can actually discuss what the fuck is going on, rather than the allowable corporate thought that fits in this little tiny goddamn box where it's like you turn on CNN and your head feels like it's gonna pop because they got the walls on the sides of the debate just right here, and you're like, what? I'm thinking of something over there, and they're like, fuck you, you know.
That's exactly how it feels, which is why I mean, I don't know how you watch fucking CNN. It's mind-boggling.
I don't like watch it all the time.
No, but you watch it, which is...
I gotta know what the enemy's doing.
I hear you. I hear you. I really do. So I think we got our $50 for an extra 10 minutes, folks. Thank you so much. Reminder that all of the proceeds from this live stream are going to Indigenous Action. So please, if you have some change to throw their way, our way to throw their way, then please go to, if you're on Facebook, you can go to youtube.com/momentofclarity and donate, where you got the little comment box thing.
All right, so are we still on things Biden might do in the opening months, his first 100 days? Now, these could be things you want him to do, but I was thinking more of the shit he's going to do. He's already announced that, what was it? He's already announced a couple of things. He's going to end the Muslim ban. That's a positive. He's going to bring back DACA, which is a positive. However, as we said, when the fight
He's
about
not going to stop bombing Muslims. But, you know.
Yeah. Well, no, we bomb over there, and then if they want to come here now, we'll let a few in.
A few.
But in general, we'll send them back so we can bomb them some more. Bringing back DACA is a good thing. There are people here that deserve to be here. However, the fight over DACA is already. You remember I just talked about that? I think I mentioned something about the little box of allowable thought. DACA is already keeping you in this little tiny debate, whereas the debate should be immigrants should be allowed to come to this fucking country because toxic nationalism is a joke to begin with. Well, that should be the discussion.
Well, the discussion should also be why are people coming to this country? Oh, could it be? Wow, thank you so much.
Wow. Yep.
To OCD. I appreciate that. Thank you, Torches and Pitchforks as well. Thank you so much.
To OCD.
I totally appreciate that, by the way. These people are fleeing their countries because we're fucking ruining their countries. The fact is that thank you, Felicia. The fact is that if you look at how we've treated South America and Latin America, it is just a continuous waves of destruction and oppression and imperialism, colonialism that have absolutely destroyed and gutted any sort of like progressive movements. You know, there are of course people that have been able to withstand it, like in Venezuela, like in Bolivia and Chile and things like that. But the pressure has been immense. So people are fleeing their nations because we've made them shitty. We have made them into war zones. We have gutted economies with economic warfare, which sometimes is called sanctions. So the idea that these people are coming to the U.S. because the U.S. is so wonderful, no, they're coming to the U.S. because they have to leave their homes. No one leaves their homes because they're like, oh, I'd much rather just be a fucking, on the run illegal immigrant in the United States rather than stay in my home country. No, it's because these home countries are being absolutely devastated by the United States, by U.S. imperialism. So these are the discussions that should be had. And somebody just earlier commented on what's the over-under on Biden drone bombing AMLO. I don't know, but I'd say there's a good chance. Yeah. For those who are unaware, AMLO is the president of Mexico.
And we were just talking to someone who's a great journalist out of Mexico, and she was saying,
Alina Duarte.
And
follow her on Twitter.
Yeah, check her out. And she was saying that although AMLO has done some positive things in terms of redistribution of wealth,
Jackie.
To a degree, she was saying that there's a lot for activists and leftists to be upset about, and he's by no means some sort of leftist panacea, and a lot of people are getting upset with him. So it's possible that he has appeased the American empire enough that they will not be trying to create a coup, a CIA-backed coup in Mexico.
Here's a good point. Any chance Biden will do anything to stop what he started with the crime bill with the Middle East? Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is because people I know people I've argued with, friends and stuff, who support Biden, who hate the crime bill, who think it's racist or has had racist results, and they think like, oh, he's changed since then.
Chris.
Well, if he's changed since then, do you really think he's going to undo the crime? I mean, I'd love to see it. Okay, great, fucking do it. Undo your fucking dirty work. But I have a funny feeling that not a lot is going to change. Actually, he said not a lot is going to change. That was a quote from him.
Mm-hmm. Jay Blood had a good point. Read what the Zapatistas say about AMLO. Anytime the Zapatistas say something, good idea to read it. Yes, thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for the donation. Somebody mentioned your book, Lee. So why don't you tell people where to find your book, just real quick?
My book. Thanks for asking, guys. It's called
oh shit.
Bullet
Take
Points.
the sticky off.
Bullet Points and Punchlines, and it is still available. It's at leecampbook.com. Too many hands. So you got to slow down the hand motion. There you go.
Well, you're covering half the cover.
It's got a introduction by somebody named Jimmy Dore. I'm not familiar. And a forward by someone else named Chris Hedges. Never met him, but I've heard good things. But it's here's the thing, though. That book, although there are definitely some mentions of Trump and some mentions of Obama, nothing in it are you going to read and be like, oh, this is so old, I need to throw this out. It's telling me what to do about Trump in the next election. No, I get at the deeper issues, which is kind of the point of the book. Things about how Wall Street's a Ponzi scheme, or about how we give trillions of dollars of unaccounted money to our military, or ways our elections are scams outside of what you've normally heard. And so, yeah. You'll enjoy the book. It's at leecampbook.com. And if you would like, I always sound like a salesman when I say this, but this is a good part. If you would like 20% off, you just type in.
Holy shit.
Wow. $100 from Chaos Agent. That's incredible.
Damn.
Wow. I think
we got a little fight going on.
We had a bidding war.
We got a bidding war. Well, thank you for the bidding war for Indigenous
Action. You know what?
Action.
I don't think Checks can handle donating more.
Fuck yes.
Love you guys. You guys are both incredible. That you've donated so much today.
This is all going to Indigenous Action, by the way. And again, they've got badass articles, information.
Like 2 words left. If you put in the coupon code, the initials of the book, bullet points and punchlines, BPAPL, that coupon code gets you 20% off at leecampbook.com. Okay, now go.
Thank you so much, Dustin. So, go to indigenousaction.org. They've got a lot of badass articles, great resources. And I think that was really all I was going to say about that. So.
Okay, so since you paid for the extra 10 minutes, what would you like us to do for you? And yes, I said that way on purpose. Thank you, Nick. What would you like to talk about in the last 10 minutes? Please throw in topics.
We got some here.
Okay. What's the over-under on Biden serving 2 full terms? 0. Do you think Trump will run again in 24? Yes. So the soonest we can now have a progressive presidential candidate is 2028 at a minimum, right? I think they're already setting it up. You can pull it down because it's covering that screen, but disappearing behind Nick's comment. I think they're already setting it up for either Kamala Harris, to be the next president, because in all of these like celebrations that you see on liberal media of Biden winning, a lot of them are mentioning Kamala Harris in the same sentence, and about how it's a first for this, woman VP and all this stuff. And look, I'm fine with them mentioning that, but the reason they're mentioning that, I think, is to set it up as kind of a dual presidency, I'll get to that in a second. But because they know Biden is fading. He's fading mentally, but he's fading physically as well, and he just probably won't have it in him to even run next time around. And so they need to start setting up something else. Trump almost definitely will run in 24, which means he'll start running this year, like later this year. He'll probably start doing events around the country to get ready for 24. And I mean, here's the thing is, when you put in garbage candidates like a Joe Biden and a Kamala Harris, you really create a void that a Trump can rise up in.
Absolutely.
And so they have, created a perfect scenario for Trump to run again in
because Kamala did so poorly in the fucking primaries.
So she didn't get any.
She didn't get a delegate. So it's important to recognize that the Democrats once again, just like in 2016 and this year, any progressive, they're just playing fucking whack-a-mole.
Thank you, torches and pitchforks.
They're just playing whack-a-mole with progressives and trying to beat them back and beat them down as much as possible. So, I think it's very possible that in 2024 we could see another Trump. Although who was it that was talking about it being Trump Jr.?
Well, Trump Jr. said he wants to run for office, but he has a brain made out of rocks and farts.
Well, look at apple don't fall far.
But I will say this, though. I think it's probably less likely that Trump could win in 2024 because of and again, I'm no Trump fan. I'm just calling it as I see it, because of the mass censorship that we now have online. You have a reality now where the big tech platforms are censoring people to such a degree that they can stop any thought that they find threatening. And the fact that we have, 630 watching on Facebook and another several hundred watching on YouTube, I think that's largely, this is probably the most we've had in a while, and it's because it must be because we're out of the election suppression. Up until over the past 6 months, we've never been able to get more than 300, and it's because most people talking about the election were not allowed to get their thoughts out there. And now, this doesn't mean that I'm like not shadow banned at all. If this video were shown to a proper number of people out of my 330,000 followers on Facebook, we'd have 10,000 people watching right now. So clearly there's still shadow banning, but I think it's a lesser degree post-election. But anyway, that shows the level of power they have, and they are not afraid to use it. And we're seeing it more and more, even to the point of people like Glenn Greenwald getting censored, which is why he just resigned from The Intercept. So,
and he's been doing really good stuff since he resigned.
Oh yeah, he's swinging for the fences.
Thank you, AD.
In a new way. So,
that's awesome. Yep. Well, little side note here. A friend of mine worked in rigging at Disneyland. And if you want to have the scariest experience of your life, go into It's a Small World when they're like working on it, when they're cleaning it or like fixing some shit. It's absolutely fucking terrifying. It's the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my life. Side note. Speaking of animatronics. So y'all, we have about 4 minutes left. Are there any other questions or things that you'd like to get out there? Even just like cathartic.
Wow.
Holy shit.
yeah, Baycheck.
I am so here for this bidding war, by the way.
Bidding war. I feel like we need to stay online another 5 minutes just to see where the bidding war ends.
I am so here for this.
Dude, we need to get someone from Indigenous Aid to come on next week and be like, this was incredible.
Indigenous Action. Yes.
Indigenous Action. I'm never going to get this
don't
right.
Want to say it right. Yes, thank you so much. Fuck yeah. All of this is going to Indigenous Action. So y'all are awesome. Thank you so much for this. So yeah, anything else that y'all want to talk about for the last few minutes here? See, if this were radio, then the FCC would have fined us for that dead air.
Yeah, they would have. But we're having fun. We're hanging out. We're hanging out with cool people.
We are. And even like just again, like
I feel like this has been good therapy
for the catharsis. It really has.
Good catharsis to meet up because
as I mentioned, so angry and sad yesterday. You have no idea.
As I mentioned, we're in DC, and DC went 95% for Biden. That's got 93%. That's got to be a record. And so you walk down the street, and look, it's not that I want people cheering Trump. That makes me even sicker, barely. But watching people walk around and be like, we got a new neoliberal, racist, rapist, war criminal in the White House.
Thank you, Tay Ray.
That doesn't. It's not a good Saturday. No.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, no, it's it was bad. So this is good. This is medicine. I hope it's the same for y'all. As somebody noted earlier. As somebody noted earlier, we are on our own, but we are together. So that is definitely how it feels. And I'm so glad that y'all have been hanging out with us for this little bit more than an hour here. Thank you, Torches and Pitchforks. We did not watch the Chappelle monologue.
I didn't see Chappelle's thing. Someone mentioned that. Someone said, "What is your charity going to do with the money?" I thought we made this clear, but this is not for us. This is not for our charity. This is for a charity called.
Also, fuck charity. No, it's not a charity.
Sorry, easy with the fingers. Sorry, in mutual aid. This is for a mutual aid organization called Indigenous Aid
Action. Oh my God, holy balls! Indigenous Action, which is not just a mutual aid organization. Thank you so much, Patrick.
So this is not going to us.
It's not going to us at all. This is all of the money that we get goes directly to the organization that we are raising funds for that week. Last week it was Mutual Aid Disaster Relief. This week it's Indigenous Action, which not only does mutual aid, but also helps with the communications. It helps with direct action trainings and support and things like that. So this is a great organization. Also, I mean, just check them out. Go to indigenousaction.org and check them out there. They are awesome. So that is where all of this money is going.
Yeah, and you guys have been amazing today.
Yeah,
and
this is rad.
As we were saying, thanks for hanging out with us, because it's kind of sad to see so many people not understand how the system works, not understand that, sure, there are some small things that Biden will do that are good, such as ending the Muslim ban. But there are also many things that Biden and Trump, 90% of the core issues of this country, Biden and Trump agree on. They may not act like they agree on them. They might not talk like they agree on them. But generally, in terms of foreign policy, they agree. Trump's Pentagon averages 40,000 bombs a year. Biden averaged 30,000 bombs a year. The trillions to the military in general, the bases around the world, the Wall Street exploitation and extraction of the wealth going to a tiny number of people, while fucking minimum wage is stagnant over decades and generations. All of this they agree on. The environmental collapse. They may act like they're different on climate change, but Trump doesn't believe it's real, and Biden does fuck all about it. So how is that any different at the end of the day?
Amen. And Nick, that sounds interesting. I'd love to be cast in this role. I think it sounds fun. And also, thank you for sharing the pair character. I've missed those little tidbits, and I very much appreciate them. Also, I do not like Merlot, but other than that, love it. Thank you very much here for that. Thank you so much, Fred. Thank you. Appreciate that, and appreciate y'all giving what you can to support these organizations every week. Again, this week it's Indigenous Action. Last week was Mutual Aid Disaster Relief. So really, really appreciate all of y'all support.
So guys, to wrap up here, we have a podcast called Common Censored. It's free every week. We'd love for you to join us there as well. Just look up Common Censored. CENSORED. All of Eleanor's work, including her awarded and honored movie called Hard Road of Hope, can be found at hardroadofhope.com, where the movie is, and her website is artkillingapathy.com. My stuff's at leecamp.com. I do live streams almost every day, as well as my TV show Redacted Tonight. But if you want to catch all that, you got to go to leecamp.com. You're not going to be shown this in your feed often. I realize a lot of you might have stumbled upon this in your feed, but you are a tiny fraction of the number of people that click subscribe and follow. So if you really want to find out about our videos, go to leecamp.com every day and see a new video.
Yeah, and we'll see you on we'll be with you on the podcast. And this week I also have another episode of Act Out that will be coming out this coming Friday. And y'all can also check out the podcast Silver Threads that I do with Carla Bergman, the co-author of Joyful Militancy. And so, yeah, we're putting out content. I'll also be posting more things in the interim. So thank y'all for being here. Really appreciate it. It feels good to know that we're not alone in how we feel. And yeah, until next time, act out.
Keep fighting.